if the things you worked for, the money you stole, the lives you took, became the very tools of your downfall? What if the escape you built for yourself was just a faster, more visible cage? They say that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. But in the world of urban crime, karma doesn't always come for you. Sometimes it hunts you down, driving a $2 million machine. This is the story of Marcus Hale, a man who thought he had outsmarted a system, only to discover he was a part of it all along. Marcus didn't come from a life of privilege. He clawed his way out of the gutter, building an empire on the concrete back alleys of Atlanta. Every deal, every betrayal, every rival he silenced was a brick in the wall of his future. He was a survivor, a strategist. He worked for years, amassing a fortune in drug money, a fortune he intended to use to disappear. He thought he had planned every last detail. The exit strategy was flawless. The location was secure. The funds were clean. His final prize awaited him, delivered right to his doorstep, a monument to his ruthless success. On a Thursday morning, Marcus Hale woke up with 2 Lamborghinis in his driveway, a gleaming orange Aventador and a silent black Huracán. These weren't a surprise. He had arranged this. They were the key to his new life. But when he stepped outside and found a single white envelope tucked under a wiper blade, the meticulous plan began to unravel. The note inside was not from his contact. It was from a man he had left for dead, a man named Sterling, a former rival who had been a ghost for years. The message was just 5 words. The debt is paid. Now you belong to the road. It was then that the Lamborghini became a cage. The debt wasn't his to pay, it was his to repay. The road wasn't a path to freedom. It was a race he had no choice but to enter. The cars, symbols of his success, were now a massive, flashing target. A broadcast to every soul he had wronged that he was here, exposed, and ready to be hunted. What would you do in that situation? Would you run, or would you try to stay and fight? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Marcus hit the gas, the Aventador's engine roaring to life. He tried to lose himself in the early morning traffic, but the car was too loud, too bright. It was impossible to hide. Within minutes, a souped-up sedan, its windows tinted black, appeared in his rearview mirror. Then another. They were moving in sync, trying to box him in. This wasn't a negotiation. This was a hunt. He dodged and wove through traffic, the city's labyrinth becoming his proving ground. He managed to shake them, but the fear was now a constant passenger. He realized he couldn't simply drive away. He had to disappear the old-fashioned way. He abandoned the Lamborghinis in a hidden parking garage and went to ground. But his enemies were already a step ahead. Every burner phone he tried to activate was a deadline. Every face in his old network had vanished or turned cold. The streets that once answered to him now felt empty, haunted by the very absence of his connections. It wasn't just his network that was gone. It was as if someone had erased the very memory of him from the neighborhood. As days turned into weeks, the psychological torment began. He was alone, isolated. The silence in his safe houses was deafening, broken only by a single, rhythmic tapping sound he couldn't place. A dripping faucet, he told himself, a loose window pane. But the tapping always came in threes, followed by a faint, wet whisper he could just barely hear. He was being stalked, not just physically, but psychologically. He knew it wasn't just Sterling. It was something more organized. Marcus is starting to lose his mind. What do you think the tapping and whispering could mean? Is it a warning? Or is it a game? Driven by paranoia and the need to know who was behind this, Marcus started investigating. He followed the trail of his vanished contacts. He learned that every single person he had tried to reach out to had recently entered a new rehabilitation program. The same one, a program known to the street as the Stillwater Sanction. It was said to have a 100% success rate, leaving ex-cons reformed and compliant. The very program that had once been dismissed as a myth was the key to all his terror. In the sudden dark, he heard it, the tapping. Not from the window, not from the pipes. It was coming from the floorboards right beside him. A heavy, rhythmic beat. Thump, thump, thump. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Sterling, but his eyes, they were placid, hollow. His movements were fluid, mechanical. He didn't speak with a voice of anger or vengeance. When he finally spoke, it was in a monotone, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The truth was laid bare. Sterling wasn't hunting him. He was merely an instrument, a drone. His will, his rage, his very identity had been systematically harvested and replaced. He was the product of the Stillwater Sanction, a perfect hunter, his mind purged of all emotion, a machine programmed to eliminate the loose ends of a vast, secret enterprise. Marcus wasn't just a target. He was a final test. He was the last bit of defiance left on the board. The chase was on again, but this time, it wasn't for freedom. It was a fight against an emptiness that was trying to consume him. We don't know what happened to Marcus. The trail went cold, but we do know one thing. The Lamborghinis were found, parked perfectly, just a few miles from the city limits, unscathed. Unused. They were a lure, a promise of a future that would never exist, a final act from an unseen hand. Marcus had thought he was a king, but he was just a piece in a terrifying game. He had outsmarted every rival, every cop, every hustler, but he couldn't outrun a system that harvests your very soul. The road took him, and now he's just another ghost on the forgotten streets of Atlanta. A man who thought he had everything, only to find he had nothing left to lose. What do you think happened to Marcus? Is he still out there? A ghost trying to reclaim his soul? Or has he too been processed by the Stillwater Sanction? Let us know what you think in the comments. This isn't the only time a simple crime story turned into a horrific mystery. Next time, we'll tell you about a string of bank heists in rural Georgia that led to something far more valuable than money. You won't want to miss it. If this story sent shivers down your spine, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us find more chilling tales like this one. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode.